Hello, everyone. Today I will be presenting my proposed research study, which examines the relationship between positive behavioral intervention supports, or PBIS, and disruptive classroom behaviors amongst elementary school students. I chose this topic because working in many general education and special education settings has allowed me to see firsthand how much student behavior can affect instruction, student engagement, and the overall classroom environment. As a future special education teacher, I'm interested in learning more about practices that can help schools strengthen their behavioral support systems and improve the outcomes for students behaviorally so that they can truly learn. Throughout this presentation, I'll share the key components of my proposed research study and discuss why I believe this research has the potential to inform future educational practice. To give you an idea of where we're headed, I'll begin by talking about the research problem and why this topic is important to me. I'll then share my research question and summarize the literature that informed this proposal. After that, I'll walk through the proposed methodology, data collection process, and data analysis plan before finishing with ethical considerations and potential implications for practice. To begin, I'd like to talk a little bit more about why I selected this topic and why I think it's an important area to continue exploring in research. PBIS has become widely used in elementary schools as a proactive way to support positive behavior and create supportive learning environments. However, despite increased implementation efforts, many teachers are still continuing to experience disruptive behaviors that are affecting and interfering with instruction, student engagement, and overall classroom climate. This topic is especially meaningful to me because my experiences, again, in both general education and special education settings, has shown me how much behavior can really influence learning opportunity for students while also shaping the daily experiences of teachers, peers, and actually the school community as a whole. Understanding this relationship may help educators to make more informed decisions about the right behavior supports and to foster the classroom environments where students have more opportunities to engage, participate, and succeed. To narrow the focus of this study, I selected two measurable variables. The independent variable is the level of PBIS implementation, while the dependent variable is the frequency of disruptive classroom behaviors. The study is limited to elementary schools that have implemented PBIS for at least one calendar year, and it uses a quantitative correlational approach because it allows researchers to examine relationships between measurable variables using numerical data. I felt this approach, let's go back a little. I felt this approach was the best fit because my goal is actually to better understand whether these implementation practices may be associated with differences in student behavioral outcomes. The focus of this proposed study is the following specific research question. Is there a relationship between the level of PBIS implementation and the frequency of disruptive behaviors amongst elementary students? The purpose of this study is to determine whether higher levels of PBIS implementation are associated with lower frequencies of disruptive classroom behaviors. Prior research has shown positive outcomes related to behavioral type interventions, but I was interested in taking a closer look at whether differences in PBIS implementation levels may be associated with differences in disruptive behaviors amongst elementary students. One of the benefits of better understanding this relationship is that it gives our schools really useful information, relatable, real information when deciding how to strengthen the behavior supports and meet the needs of the students on campus. For this proposed study, I selected a quantitative correlational design because it was the best fit for answering my specific research question. Since both variables can be measured numerically, this approach allows researchers to collect and analyze data to determine whether a relationship exists between them. The proposed participants for this study are elementary schools that have implemented PBIS for at least one full academic year. The independent variable is the study is the level of PBIS implementation, while the dependent variable is the frequency of disruptive classroom behaviors. So overall, I felt this design provided the best opportunity to be objective, to objectively examine whether differences in implementation levels may be associated with differences in student behavioral outcomes. Using the measurable data may provide a clearer understanding of patterns that may otherwise be influenced by the personal perceptions or experiences in the qualitative type of study. I think having that information can help schools feel more confident about the decisions that they're making and when strengthening the behavior support plans for their students. For this proposed study, data would be collected using several existing sources. The level of PBIS implementation would be measured using scores from the Tiered Fidelity Inventory, or TFI, which is designed to access how well schools are really implementing their PBIS practices and strategies. Information related to disruptive classroom behaviors would be gathered from things like discipline referrals, behavior logs, direct behavioral tallies, classroom observation data, and school discipline reports and records. Using multiple sources of data may help to provide a more complete picture of both PBIS implementation and student behavior patterns. Once the data has been collected, it would be analyzed using descriptive statistics and a Pearson correlation coefficient. Descriptive statistics would help summarize the data, while the Pearson correlation would be used to determine whether the relationship exists between the level of PBIS implementation and those disruptive classroom behaviors. I selected those analyses because they examine with the quantitative correlation design and provide a systematic way to examine patterns within the data. I see many ways that this type of information could be useful for teachers and schools, especially when deciding how to strengthen those behavioral supports and to be more effective in how they are supporting students. Although this is a proposed study and the findings are not yet available, I see several potential implications for practice. If a relationship is identified, the results may encourage schools to strengthen PBIS implementation and consider ways to support students with behavioral needs. It would be so great to have strong data to support that and encourage more schools to really dive into implementation. As someone preparing to enter the field of special education, I find this especially meaningful because I know how important it is for educators to have valuable information that helps guide decisions about the way we support our students daily, and it encourages collaboration amongst our school team. I hope this study can contribute information that helps educators feel more confident in the decisions they make to support students and create positive learning environments for everyone in the classroom. Thank you for taking the time to review my proposal. Developing this study has helped me better understand the research process and the importance of using evidence to inform our educational decisions. I look forward to continuing to grow as an educator and learning how research can be used to support schools, teachers, and students. Thank you.